For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the summer morning of 2000, 28-year-old Aaron Davidson left the marina in Key West, Florida, to survey the Looe Key Reef for his salvage company. He never returned. Despite an extensive search by the Coast Guard, Aaron vanished without a trace, leaving his boat adrift in the vast ocean. For 23 years, his family lived with agonizing uncertainty, clinging to the hope that one day they would learn his fate. Then, in 2023, a tourist snorkeling near the reef made a chilling discovery. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Aaron Davidson. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. The Florida Keys, a string of tropical islands strung like emeralds across the turquoise waters of the Gulf of Mexico. For Aaron Davidson, these islands were more than just a picturesque paradise. They were his office, his playground, and his passion. A gregarious 28-year-old with a deep tan and a ready smile, Aaron was a former Navy serviceman who had found his calling in the depths of the ocean. He was a skilled salvage diver, exploring the myriad shipwrecks that littered the seabed, recovering lost treasures and forgotten history. His company, Key West Salvage, was a small but thriving enterprise, built on Aaron's expertise and his infectious enthusiasm for the underwater world. The summer of 2000 found Aaron at the peak of his career, brimming with plans and eager to expand his operations. He had recently purchased a new side-scan sonar system and was eager to put it to the test. His target, the coral spurs off Looe Key Reef, a known haven for shipwrecks and scattered debris from centuries of maritime traffic. On a clear July morning, Aaron prepared his boat, the Sea Serpent, a sturdy vessel he had painstakingly refurbished. He meticulously checked his diving equipment, tanks, regulator, buoyancy compensator, and his custom-made dive mask, etched with his initials, AD. The purpose of his dive was to conduct a preliminary survey of the area, mapping the coral formations and searching for any signs of potential salvage targets. He informed his business partner, Justin Carter, of his plans, mentioning he expected to be back by late afternoon. Setting out from the marina, Aaron navigated the familiar channels, the sun glinting off the calm water. He reached Looe Key Reef mid-morning and anchored the Sea Serpent, the gentle rocking of the boat the only sound in the vast expanse of the ocean. He donned his gear, took a final deep breath of the salty air, and plunged into the crystalline depths. Hours passed, the sun climbed higher in the sky, and the afternoon began to wane. Back at the marina, Justin Carter grew concerned. Aaron was usually punctual, and his failure to return by late afternoon was unusual. As dusk settled, Carter contacted the Coast Guard, reporting Aaron overdue. The Coast Guard launched a search and rescue operation, dispatching boats and a helicopter to scour the area around Looe Key Reef. They found the Sea Serpent drifting aimlessly, its engine off, Aaron's diving gear still on board, except for his mask and air hose, but no sign of Aaron himself. The search continued through the night, the beams of searchlights cutting through the darkness, but yielded nothing. As days turned into weeks, the hope of finding Aaron alive dwindled. The prevailing theory, based on the strong currents in the area, was that he had been swept away while diving and had drowned. His family and friends, initially clinging to hope, were devastated. Aaron's disappearance left a gaping hole in their lives, his laughter and infectious energy replaced by a profound sense of loss. The official investigation, hampered by the lack of a body and any concrete evidence of foul play, eventually concluded that Aaron had been the victim of a tragic diving accident. The case, seemingly solved by the ocean's vast indifference, slowly began to fade from public memory. The initial investigation into Aaron Davidson's disappearance began immediately after the discovery of his empty boat. Monroe County Sheriff's deputies meticulously examined the Sea Serpent, searching for any clues that might shed light on Aaron's fate. They documented the position of the boat, the condition of his diving gear left on board, and the absence of any signs of struggle or distress. Investigators interviewed Aaron's colleagues and acquaintances, piecing together his last known movements and activities. Justin Carter, Aaron's business partner, was questioned extensively. He recounted his last conversation with Aaron, their plans for the business, and Aaron's intended dive at Looe Key Reef. Carter appeared distraught by Aaron's disappearance, cooperating fully with the authorities. He mentioned a recently acquired life insurance policy he had taken out on Aaron, explaining it was a standard business practice to protect their investment in Key West salvage. This detail, seemingly routine at the time, was duly noted in the official reports. The vastness of the ocean presented a significant challenge to the investigation. The search area was immense, the currents unpredictable, and the possibility of recovering a body in such conditions slim. Divers from the Sheriff's Department conducted underwater searches around Looe Key Reef, but the complex topography of the coral formations and the limited visibility hampered their efforts. The prevailing assumption of accidental drowning, fueled by the lack of any evidence to the contrary, began to shape the direction of the investigation. The strong currents known to exist in the area provided a plausible explanation for Aaron's disappearance. Without a body or any indication of foul play, the case gradually shifted from a search and rescue operation to a recovery effort, and finally, to an apparent tragic accident. The conclusion of accidental drowning brought little comfort to Aaron's family and friends. They struggled to reconcile the official explanation with their memories of Aaron, a skilled and experienced diver who was meticulous about safety. The unanswered questions surrounding his disappearance gnawed at them, leaving a lingering sense of unease and unresolved grief. As months passed with no new leads or discoveries, the investigation slowed. The case files, filled with interviews, sonar reports, and photographs of the empty sea serpent, were archived. Aaron Davidson's disappearance, initially a high-profile local news story, gradually faded from public view. The case grew cold, seemingly destined to remain another unsolved mystery claimed by the depths of the ocean. The years that followed Aaron Davidson's disappearance were marked by a quiet, persistent grief for his family and friends. Birthdays and holidays passed, each a painful reminder of his absence. The laughter and energy that had once filled their lives were replaced by a void, a constant echo of what had been lost. The ocean, once a source of shared joy and adventure with Aaron, now held a somber significance, a vast and indifferent expanse that had swallowed their loved one without a trace. The initial acceptance of the accidental drowning theory slowly gave way to a gnawing uncertainty. The lack of a body, the lingering questions about the circumstances of his disappearance, and the nagging feeling that something wasn't right fueled their private investigations. They revisited the official reports, scrutinized every detail, searching for any overlooked clues or inconsistencies. They spoke to other divers, explored alternative theories, and clung to the hope that one day, the truth would surface. Periodically, the case was reviewed by the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. New detectives assigned to the cold case unit would pore over the original files, re-interviewing witnesses and exploring any new leads that might have emerged. However, with no new evidence and the passage of time blurring memories and scattering witnesses, these reviews yielded little progress. The case remained stubbornly cold, a testament to the ocean's ability to keep its secrets. Meanwhile, the world of forensic science continued to advance. DNA analysis techniques became more sophisticated, allowing for the extraction of genetic material from even the most degraded samples. Underwater search technology improved, providing clearer images of the seabed and enabling deeper explorations. These advancements, while seemingly unrelated to Aaron's case at the time, would eventually play a crucial role in uncovering the truth. For Aaron's family, the passage of time did little to diminish their hope for closure. They held on to memories, photographs, and stories, keeping his spirit alive in their hearts. They organized annual memorial gatherings, not just to mourn their loss, but to celebrate Aaron's life and the joy he had brought into the world. The frustration and seeming impossibility of ever finding answers only strengthened their resolve. They knew that somewhere beneath the waves lay the truth about what happened to Aaron, and they refused to give up hope that one day it would finally be revealed. The ocean, once a symbol of their unanswered questions, also held the promise of eventual answers. It was a waiting game, a test of endurance against the relentless tide of time and the seemingly impenetrable silence of the deep. 23 years had passed since Aaron Davidson vanished beneath the waves. The summer of 2023 brought a steady stream of tourists to the Florida Keys, eager to explore the vibrant coral reefs and bask in the tropical sun. Among them was Sarah Jensen, a vacationing biology teacher from Ohio, who had decided to spend a morning snorkeling off Looe Key Reef. Equipped with a mask and snorkel, she drifted over the colorful coral formations, marveling at the teeming marine life. As she explored a particularly dense cluster of coral heads, something caught her eye. Wedged deep within the crevices of a large brain coral, she spotted what appeared to be an old, encrusted dive mask. Intrigued, she carefully dislodged it, the mask's surface covered in a thick layer of algae and marine growth. Back on the boat, Sarah scrubbed the mask clean, revealing faded markings and initials etched into the lens, AD. She also noticed something disturbing. The strap of the mask appeared to have been deliberately cut, the edges frayed and uneven. Unsure of the significance of her find, Sarah reported it to the local authorities. The mask was passed on to the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, landing on the desk of Sheriff Brooke Reynolds. Sheriff Reynolds, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for tenacity, recognized the potential significance of the discovery. The initials AD immediately brought to mind the cold case of Aaron Davidson. The mask was sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's crime lab for analysis. Forensic scientists carefully examined the encrusted mask, painstakingly removing layers of marine growth. The etched initials were a promising lead, but the real breakthrough came when they discovered strands of hair trapped within the mask's frame. Despite the years underwater, the hair was remarkably well preserved. DNA analysis confirmed that the hair belonged to Aaron Davidson. The discovery sent a ripple of shock and disbelief through the sheriff's department. What had initially seemed like a random discovery by a tourist suddenly transformed a 23-year-old cold case into an active homicide investigation. The cut marks on the mask strap, initially overlooked, now took on a sinister meaning. They were no longer a sign of wear and tear, but evidence of deliberate tampering, a chilling indication of foul play. Sheriff Reynolds assembled a dive team, tasked with returning to Looe Key Reef, specifically the location where the mask was found. They were instructed to conduct a thorough search of the area, looking for any additional evidence that might shed light on Aaron's fate. The discovery of the mask, once lost to the ocean's depths, had cracked open the mystery of Aaron Davidson's disappearance, revealing a dark secret hidden beneath the waves for over 2 decades. The assumption of accidental drowning, which had closed the case years ago, was now shattered, replaced by the chilling realization that Aaron's disappearance was no accident. The renewed investigation into Aaron Davidson's disappearance began with a meticulous re-examination of the area surrounding the coral head where the dive mask had been discovered. Sheriff Reynolds' dive team, equipped with state-of-the-art sonar and underwater cameras, systematically surveyed the seabed. They meticulously documented every detail, mapping the coral formations, charting the currents, and searching for any disturbance in the sediment that might indicate a struggle or the presence of a discarded object. The focus of the search gradually expanded outward, encompassing a wider area of the reef. Divers worked in grids, carefully combing the seabed, their movements guided by the sonar readings and the knowledge that any small clue could be crucial. The initial search yielded little in the way of significant findings. The ocean floor, while rich with marine life, held no obvious signs of Aaron's presence. However, the dive team persisted, driven by the knowledge that the mask's discovery was not merely a coincidence, but a vital piece of a much larger puzzle. Back on land, Sheriff Reynolds revisited the original case files, scrutinizing every detail of the initial investigation. She focused on the examination of Aaron's diving gear recovered from the sea serpent, specifically the equipment that had been missing, his dive mask and air hose. The mask, now confirmed as Aaron's, had been deliberately planted on the reef. But what about the missing air hose? Had it simply been lost during the presumed accident, or could it hold a more sinister secret? Sheriff Reynolds requested that Aaron's diving gear be retrieved from evidence storage and re-examined using modern forensic techniques. The regulator and buoyancy compensator showed signs of normal wear and tear, but the examination of the air hose revealed a startling discovery. A clean, sharp cut was found near the connection point where the hose attached to the tank. The cut was too precise to be accidental, bearing the unmistakable mark of a sharp blade. This discovery was a turning point in the investigation. The sliced air hose, coupled with the cut marks on the dive mask strap, pointed unequivocally towards foul play. Aaron's death was no longer presumed to be an accidental drowning. It was now officially classified as a homicide. Forensic scientists analyzed the cut on the air hose, comparing it to various types of blades to determine the likely weapon used. They also examined the cut marks on the mask strap, searching for any microscopic traces of the blade or other materials that might provide further clues. The evidence began to paint a disturbing picture of what might have happened to Aaron on that fateful day in 2000. Someone had deliberately sabotaged his diving equipment, cutting his air supply and ensuring he would not surface. But who would have wanted Aaron dead? Sheriff Reynolds turned her attention to Justin Carter, Aaron's business partner. Carter had been interviewed extensively during the initial investigation, but at the time, there had been no reason to suspect him of any involvement in Aaron's disappearance. Now, with the discovery of the sliced air hose and the cut mask strap, Carter became a person of interest. Sheriff Reynolds began to delve into Justin Carter's financial records, uncovering a series of troubling discrepancies. She discovered that Carter had been facing significant financial difficulties in the months leading up to Aaron's disappearance. His gambling debts had spiraled out of control, and his share of Key West salvage was heavily leveraged. The life insurance policy that Carter had taken out on Aaron, initially dismissed as a routine business practice, now took on a new significance. The policy, worth a substantial sum, would have provided Carter with a much-needed financial windfall in the event of Aaron's death. Sheriff Reynolds began to build a case against Justin Carter, meticulously gathering financial records, witness testimonies, and circumstantial evidence. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly falling into place, revealing a motive for murder driven by greed and desperation. The investigation was gaining momentum, the net closing in on the man who had betrayed his business partner and concealed his crime beneath the waves for over 2 decades. The ocean, once a silent accomplice, was now ready to give up its secrets. The interrogation room was stark, the fluorescent lights casting a cold, impersonal glow. Justin Carter sat across from Sheriff Brooke Reynolds, his demeanor a carefully constructed facade of calm. He maintained eye contact, his expression a mixture of concern and practiced innocence. Sheriff Reynolds began by reviewing the initial investigation into Aaron Davidson's disappearance, emphasizing the presumed accidental drowning conclusion. She then methodically laid out the new evidence, the discovery of the dive mask, the etched initials, the DNA match, and the crucial detail, the cut marks on the strap. Carter listened intently, his composure beginning to waver, a flicker of unease in his eyes. Sheriff Reynolds then revealed the most damning piece of evidence, the sliced air hose. She explained the forensic analysis, the precision of the cut, and the impossibility of it being accidental. She described the dive team's meticulous search of the reef, their painstaking efforts to uncover the truth hidden beneath the waves for so long. Carter's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. He shifted in his chair, his gaze darting around the room, avoiding direct eye contact. He offered weak explanations, claiming ignorance, suggesting alternative scenarios, but his words lacked conviction. Sheriff Reynolds pressed further, confronting Carter with his financial difficulties, the mounting gambling debts, the leveraged business, and the substantial life insurance policy he had taken out on Aaron. She presented him with bank statements, loan documents, and witness testimonies, each piece of evidence chipping away at his denials. The pressure mounted, the weight of the evidence becoming unbearable. Carter's carefully crafted mask of innocence finally shattered. He slumped in his chair, his shoulders sagging, his eyes welling with tears. The confession began haltingly, a trickle of words at first, then a torrent of admissions. He described how he had met Aaron at the marina on the morning of the dive, feigning support and camaraderie while secretly harboring a dark plan. He recounted how he had surreptitiously sliced Aaron's air hose while his friend prepared his gear, a quick, calculated act of betrayal. He described watching Aaron descend into the water, knowing that his air supply would soon be cut off, condemning him to a silent, watery grave. He confessed to weighting Aaron's body after he had surfaced, panicked and lifeless, and dumping it into a deep blue hole, a hidden chasm in the reef known only to a few local divers. He explained his motive, the insurance money, the desperate need to escape his mounting debts, and the desire to take sole control of their shared business. The confession was a chilling account of premeditated murder, fueled by greed and desperation, a betrayal of friendship and trust. Based on Carter's confession, Sheriff Reynolds dispatched the dive team to the blue hole he had described. After hours of searching, they located Aaron's remains, still weighted down. His diving suit and skeletal remains a grim testament to the brutality of his murder. The recovery of Aaron's remains brought a mix of emotions for his family: grief, relief, and a profound sense of closure. The confirmation of their worst fears was devastating, but the knowledge of what had truly happened, the unveiling of the truth after so many years, brought a sense of peace, a release from the torment of unanswered questions. The ocean, which had kept its secrets for so long, had finally yielded its truth. The trial of Justin Carter was a somber affair, a stark contrast to the vibrant beauty of the Florida Keys that had served as the backdrop to his crime. The courtroom was packed, filled with Aaron Davidson's family and friends, their faces etched with grief and a quiet determination to see justice served. The prosecution presented a compelling case, meticulously laying out the forensic evidence, the financial records, and Carter's chilling confession. The sliced air hose, the cut dive mask strap, and the recovered remains of Aaron Davidson painted a grim picture of premeditated murder. The defense attempted to portray Carter as a desperate man driven to a single act of madness by his financial woes, but the evidence of his calculated deception and the cold-blooded nature of his crime proved insurmountable. The jury deliberated for less than a day before returning a guilty verdict. Justin Carter was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, his fate sealed by his own greed and betrayal. The resolution of the case brought a sense of closure to the community, a collective sigh of relief that justice had finally been served. The years of unanswered questions, the lingering doubts and suspicions, had finally been laid to rest. For Aaron Davidson's family, the verdict brought a measure of peace, a sense of finality that allowed them to begin the long process of healing. They established a memorial fund in Aaron's name, dedicated to supporting marine conservation efforts and promoting diving safety. The memorial, located overlooking the ocean he loved, served as a reminder of his infectious enthusiasm for life and his deep connection to the underwater world. The case of Aaron Davidson highlighted the crucial role of forensic science in solving cold cases. The advancements in DNA analysis and underwater search technology, coupled with the persistence of law enforcement, had brought a killer to justice after more than 2 decades. It served as a testament to the enduring power of truth, the unwavering belief that even the deepest secrets can eventually be brought to light. The story of Aaron Davidson was a tragic tale of betrayal, a stark reminder of the destructive power of greed. It was a story of a life cut short, a dream shattered by the calculated actions of a trusted friend. But it was also a story of resilience, the unwavering determination of a family to find answers, and the enduring power of love and memory to transcend even the darkest of tragedies. Aaron Davidson's legacy lived on, not in the depths of the ocean where his life was cruelly taken, but in the hearts of those who loved him, and in the ongoing efforts to protect the ocean he cherished. The waves continued to lap against the shores of the Florida Keys, their rhythmic ebb and flow a constant reminder of the passage of time, the enduring power of nature, and the enduring memory of Aaron Davidson.